Hello class, let's start chapter 4 of our history book, The Vedic Civilization. In this chapter you will study about the Aryan and the Vedic age, division of the Vedic period, political and social condition, occupations, religion and achievements, other Chalcolithic settlements and megalith. The Aryans and the Vedic age. A large number of historians believe that Harappans were replaced by the Aryans, who were pastorals and a cultural race of people. They lived in Central Asia and belonged to Indo-European groups. Later, a part of them separated and moved eastwards and reached the Indian subcontinent. This group of Indo-Europeans were called Indo-Aryans or the Aryans. This assumption is also supported by the fact as we see similarity in the pronunciation of words in both Sanskrit and English languages. For example, Matri in Sanskrit resembles with mother in English and Pitri in Sanskrit resembles with Patri or father in English. Do you know? Hindi, Bangla, Assamese, Gujarati, Kashmiri, Sindhi and some other Indian languages belong to the language of Sanskrit, but Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam are from the language of Dravida family. Sanskrit and other languages of this family thus belong to the same Indo-Aryan family of languages. We should remember that Sanskrit was the mother language of the Indo-Aryans. The Aryans came to India in different stages. First, they started to settle around the river Indus and the river Saraswati. This was the period between 1500 BC to 1000 BC, known as early Vedic period. Later, they settled in the Ganga Valley. This was the period between 1000 BC to 600 BC, also known as later Vedic period. So the period of 1500 BC to 600 BC is known as the period of Vedic civilization in India. Do you know? Gayatri Mantra is taken from the Rig Veda. Thus, the Vedic civilization is also known as an important Iron Age civilization that existed in India. Veda means knowledge. Veda is the main source of information about this period. Division of Vedic period. The Vedic period has been divided into early Vedic and later Vedic periods as mentioned above. The early Vedic period is also known as Rig Vedic period because Rig Veda provides us information about this period. The rest of the Vedas such as Yajurved, Samved and Atharved and the Vedic literature, Brahmanas, Aryankas and Upanishads provide information about the later Vedic period, which is also known as the Epic Age. The Vedic Age is an extremely important period in the history of India. Two important developments took place during this period. The first change was that people went in for a more settled life. The second was the progress in social, political and religious field. Do you know? Satyam Shivam Sundaram is taken from Samved. Political condition. The Rig Veda mentioned that there were a number of big and small kingdoms during the early Vedic period. These kingdoms were hereditary. A large kingdom known as Rashtra was controlled by Samrat or Maharaja. The king of a small kingdom was known as Raja. The king was assisted by Purohit, priest, Mantri, minister, Senani, commander of army, Gramini, headman of a village. The king consulted the Sabha and the Samiti all important matters. The Sabha was the body of some selected elder people of the village and the Samiti was a large general assembly responsible for policy making. The power of the king increased in the later Vedic period. He performed the Ashwamedha Yajna for declaring his power over a territory. Rajsuya sacrifice was performed by the king to gain power. Increase in the power of the king resulted in decrease of the power of the Sabha. Do you know? Satyamev Jayate is taken from Mundopnishad. Social condition. Family was the basic unit of the society. The eldest family member was the head of the joint family. He was known as Grihapati. Women were educated. Women like Apala and Ghosha even composed hymns. The participation of the wife was a must in all religious ceremonies. Women got respect in early Vedic period. Sati Pratha and child marriage were unknown, but they got importance in the later Vedic period and thus position of women declined. Society was divided into Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Brahmins looked after the religious matters. Kshatriyas protected the people from internal and external invasions. Vaishyas were the cultivators and craftsmen. Shudras were the laborers and served the above. Do you know? The princes were allowed to choose their husbands by Swayamvar. People had the option to change their varna by changing their occupation, but in later Vedic period it became hereditary. No one had the freedom to change their varna, caste. The Upanishads divided man's life into 4 ashram of 25 years each. The first ashram was Brahmacharya ashram. In this, people had to live in their Gurukul and to learn the art of life and religion. The second stage of next 25 years was Grihastha ashram. Here, the men worked hard, got married and raised a family. The third stage was the Vanprastha ashram. In this stage, men retired to the forest to meditate. The last stage was Sannyas ashram. In this, man lived a life to complete detachment and spent his time in preaching. Occupations. Agriculture was the main occupation of the people. They irrigated the field with water from wells, canals and lakes and grew barley, rice, beans, etc. They also domesticated animals like cow, bull, sheep, goat and dog. The Aryans introduced horses in India which were brought from Central Asia. Pottery, weaving, carpentry, jewelry making, etc. were also done. They were expert traders. They used the barter system. The cow was used as a standard of value. This is the image of a painted grey ware pot. Coins like Nishka, Shatmana and Krishnala were also used in the later Vedic period. Religion. They worshipped many gods like Indra, god of thunder, Vayu, god of fire, Surya, the sun, god. Milk, ghee, grains and flesh were offered as part of sacrifices at the yajna. The early Aryans did not make temples, but the later Aryans built temples and worshipped new gods like Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Ram and Krishna. This gave birth to the Brahmanism and Hinduism. Do you know? The law code of Manu, Manu Smriti, prepared by Manu, is an important law book for Hindus. This is an image of manuscript from the Rig Veda. Achievements. The Vedic literature throws light on the achievements of the Aryans in the field of science. The Aryans knew the use of iron. It was used for making stronger tools and weapons. Craftsmen like carpenters, blacksmiths and tanners were able to develop their crafts with better tools. From weapons, iron weapons helped in conquering new territories. Mathematics was known as Ganita. It included arithmetic, geometry and algebra. The Aryans had the knowledge of zero which helped them to calculate large numbers. They also knew the decimal system, cube root, square root, under root, etc. Astronomy was their favorite subject. They knew about the movements of earth, moon, etc. They could forecast solar and lunar eclipses. The Vedic civilization was quite advanced. People led a happy and simple life. Their clothes were made of cotton, wool and skins of animals. They wore ornaments, drank Madhursura and Somras. They played flute, drums and harp. They were fond of chariot racing and dancing. Remains of other civilizations of the Iron Age in the world are also found through excavations. They were Greek, Rome and Iran. The following table presents a comparative study. Number 1. Greek civilization. Religion, supreme god, Zeus, worshipped many gods and goddesses. Occupation, agriculture, pottery, glass, agriculture, shipbuilding, trading, sculpting, pottery. Calculated the circumference of the earth, drew map of the world, Olympic Games. Roman civilization, worshipped goddess Vesta, Venus and gods Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Juno. Agriculture, trading, fighting were their occupations. Concrete, water, system, roads, Latin name of months, Roman law were their inventions. Iranian civilization, worshipped gods Indra, Vayu, Mittu, Zoroastrianism and fire. Trading, shipbuilding, crafts, silk, weaving, pottery, metalwork, gem cutting. Inventions, aromatic script, decoration of places with gold, silver, precious stones, ebony and ivory. Other Chalcolithic settlements, The Rig Veda was being composed in the northwest part of the Indian subcontinent. At the same time, other parts of the subcontinent were also being noticed for many other developments that are as follows. Megaliths in burial sites. The word megalith is a combination of the word mega meaning big and liths meaning stones. Thus, megaliths refer to big stones or stone boulders. These were used to mark burial sites in the northeast Kashmir and throughout the Deccan area and South India. The practice of erecting megalith began about 3000 years ago. Archaeologists have found some megaliths on the surface while other megalithic burials are often underground. They have also found a circle of stone boulders or a single large stone standing on the ground. This acts as an indicator that there is a burial under the ground. This is the image of a megalithic burial site. Common features of the burials. Megaliths were used to mark the burial sites. The dead person were buried with distinctive pots that are called black and red ware. Tools and weapons of iron have been found in the burial. There were skeletons of horses and horse equipments. Ornaments of stone and gold have also been found. Look at this image. This is the image of a map. This is the map of some important archaeological sites. Inamgaon, inside the subcontinent. We can find Inamgaon on the map of some important archaeological site. It is situated at the river Ghod, a tributary of the Bhima. This place was occupied between 3600 to 2700 years. Here adults were generally buried in the ground, laid out straight with their head towards the north. Sometimes burials were made within the houses. Vessels probably filled with food and water were left with the dead. Archaeologists found one man buried in a large four-legged clay jar. It was buried in the courtyard of a five-roomed house. It was one of the largest houses at site in the center of the settlement. A granary was also situated in the house. The body was placed in a cross-legged position. Now let's sum up the chapter we have read. Around 1200 BC, the Iron Age followed the Bronze Age. Veda means knowledge. The early Vedic period is also known as the Rig Vedic period. A large kingdom known as Rashtra was controlled by a Samrat or Maharaja. The king of a small kingdom was known as Raja. The king consulted the Sabha and the Samiti on all important matters. The Upanishads divided man's life into 4 ashrams of 25 years each. Agriculture was the main occupation of the people. People used the barter system. The cow was used as a standard of value. The Aryans knew the use of iron. The Aryans had the knowledge of zero, which helped them to calculate large numbers. They also knew the decimal system, cube, cube root, square root, under root, etc. Thank you, class. Let's meet in the next chapter.